Banging. Good evening and welcome to the November 9th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast on cable channel 15 and streamed online by FCTV. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. I'd like to thank our staff for their continued support to this commission and their diligence assisting applicants. At the moment, we're short two commissioners, Courtney and Steve. Steve's at a precinct meeting, so we expect him to join us later. I'd like to remind you guys, after commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time, so as to refrain from speaking over each other. Also, all votes have to be made by roll call. When I call your name, please state your name and your vote, even if you've made the motion or a second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are located on the agenda. Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022 regarding COVID-19 allows for full public participation. Therefore, if you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you'll be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the act and or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project can proceed as proposed. However, a positive determination means that the provisions of the act and or the bylaw do in fact apply. Therefore, the project will require a notice of intent application. Therefore, as an applicant, you kind of want to hear a negative determination. All right, for the benefit of anyone waiting for a particular hearing, and so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following hearings are expected to be continued. 136 Old Dock Road, 3 Madeline Road, 554 West Falmouth Highway. With that, first up, vote minutes, October 26, 2022. Anyone?
I read the minutes and I found them to be correct. Carla Hawks.
Second, O'Brien.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. If there's any questions or comments? All right, Betsy.
It's abstaining, wasn't there?
All right, Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carla Hawks, aye.
And Melissa.
Freitag, aye.
All right. With the minimum quorum that we have accepted the minutes of October 26. Next up is a request for a continuance for determination of applicability. Suzanne Taylor King, 136 Old Dock Road, West Falmouth, Mass, for permission to elevate the existing house in order to install flood-compliant footings and foundation, empty, fill, and abandon the existing cesspool, and to install a Title V sewage disposal system. Ms. Bergeron.
The applicant is requesting a continuance until November 30th.
So move.
Second, Gladfelter.
Sorry, that was Freitag. Move.
And Carla Hawks recuses.
All right. We have a motion and a second and a recusal for continuing this RDA until November 30th. Any questions or comments? All right. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Freitag, aye.
All right, it is unanimous with that quorum. We have continued this until 11:30. Next up, request for a continuance under a notice of intent. First up, Lisa Marie Fury, 3 Madeline Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconfigure the driveway, construct retaining walls, reconstruct the deck and front landing, construct 2 patios and a rent station, remove invasive species and prune trees. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until December 7th.
So move, Gladfelter.
Carlo Hawk, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until 12/7. Any questions or Melissa?
Yes, do we know why, Jen?
We pointed some things out at this, in the staff report, and we're having a Zoom call with the applicant's representative next week.
Any more questions or comments? All right, again, the motion and the second is to continue this till December 7th. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's aye.
Melissa.
Freitag, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until December 7th. Next up, Andrew Park, 554 West Falmouth Highway, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise RAZE an existing single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling, reconfigure the driveway, install dry wells with all associated grading, clearing, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until November 30th.
Carlo Hawk, so moved.
Gladfelter, second.
All right. Any questions or comments? All right. The motion and the second is to continue until 11:30. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's aye.
Melissa.
Freitag, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until November 30th. Next up are requests for determination of applicability. First one's already been continued. Brings us to Longfellow Design Build, 231 Shore Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct an addition, reconstruct a porch, and remove the existing bulkhead. Ms. Bergeron?
Thank you. Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this is located solely in the flood zone.
Carlo Hawk's, so moved.
Gladfelter, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions? Melissa?
Yeah, just confirming that less than 50% of the house is going to be played with in this. I mean, they're putting on an addition. It's a small addition. They don't have to elevate it out of the flood zone.
No, it's solely located in an AE flood zone.
Oh, okay.
The existing porch that will be reconstructed will only be enlarged partly, and the addition is rather small. It's just at the front of the house.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawk's aye.
Melissa?
Freitag, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Ann F. Collard, trustee, 23 Brenton Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove and replace the decking and railings on an existing deck. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
So moved, Carlo Hawk's.
Gladfelter,
Second,
second.
Freitag, aye.
Ooh. Little competition's always good. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any questions or comments? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's eye.
Melissa.
Frantag, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up is a continued request for determination of applicability. Mindy Pollock Fusey, 193 Coonamessett Circle, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to vista prune according to FWR 10.18 10B. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Carla Hawk, so moved.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any questions or comments? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's eye.
Melissa.
Frantag, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up are requests for hearing under notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, Cobalt Partners LLC, 23 Spencer Baird Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling, construct a new single-family dwelling with a deck and rinse station, and install mitigation plantings. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Matt Costa is here to present his project.
Mr. Costa, good evening. You're up, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Matt Costa, on behalf of Holmes and McGrath, representing the applicant. We're here tonight under a notice of intent application to raise and rebuild a single family dwelling. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Can everybody see it?
Yes, sir.
Pardon me. As stated, we're proposing to raise and rebuild the existing dwelling located at 23 Spencer Bayard. You see, I got it pulled up here on Google Earth. This is in Woods Hole. It's in between Gosnold Road and Spencer Bayard Road. This is the dwelling right here. It's directly across from the Stony Beach, and you can see the tennis court areas. Your resource areas for this project include a coastal dune that's across the street, and we did look at this with Jen, because if you stand in the street and you look this way, it doesn't look like there's a dune there, but when you go back onto the tennis courts, this area out along the street is in fact dune area. So there's the closest resource area is the coastal dune. The remainder of the property is in land subject to coastal storm flowage, flood zone A. It's a pretty straightforward project. We got a previously legally developed buffer zone, a existing dwelling which is connected to town sewer. We're proposing to completely remove the existing dwelling. If you look at your plan closely in light gray, you can see the underlayment of where the existing dwelling is. You can see the coastal dune across the street and associated buffer zones. Buffer zone A coming on to the property here. Buffer zone B the remainder of the way. We're going to be relocating the dwelling slightly. Technically, it is moving further away from the dune. um, albeit it is surrounded by road. We're going to remove the structure entirely, build a new dwelling connected to town sewer again, and the associated grading landscaping. When we run the calculations for this project for development within the buffer zones, it does result in a small mitigation requirement, and we're proposing mitigation in this area to satisfy that requirement. That would be a development within buffer zone B. This project does meet all the applicable performance standards. When we did file this project, we had incorrectly had the dune line in the wrong location, which changed the mitigation requirements and what was proposed. So the narrative that you all have read may have been out of sync with the plan. So the plan right now accurately depicts the coastal dune as reviewed with staff, and it shows the appropriate mitigation. With that, we believe the project meets all applicable performance standards, is worthy of your approval. We respectfully request an order of conditions. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Jen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things. That V-zone offset line is off the property, correct, Matt?
Yes, it's in the street. And one thing I did neglect to bring up, and I talked with Alyssa about this, is the staff report identified 2 trees that have disappeared over time. Our client recently purchased this property a few months ago. We were not aware of any trees that were removed. We didn't see any evidence of that during our survey. But talking with Alyssa about that, we would propose 2 additional trees to mitigate for those lost trees. We leave that up to the commission.
And then you all received the architecturals that Matt had sent over to us because we were a little confused if this was going up on pilings, and it appears it is going up on pilings, correct, Matt?
Yeah,
and there's only a small enclosure where the elevator is, and that's labeled as your ground floor entry, and then the architecturals show almost not lattice, but like paneling that's going
like lattice. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like, yeah. Okay, around the bottom half. Okay.
Yeah, this is not a requirement because of the velocity zone. This is driven because of the high groundwater, and it's very, very high groundwater over here. It's very low lying area, and the engineers for the foundation have opted for a pile supported system rather than dewatering and trying to put footings in this site.
Okay.
Alyssa, quick question. Did you send the architecturals to the board?
Yes,
I did.
you did.
Okay.
When? What are they under? Because I don't have any.
They came in earlier today.
Let me double check.
Last thing I've had from Alyssa is this
10
staff
a.m.
reports. No, I never got them.
Well, they must be in your trash.
No, she wasn't on the email.
Oh,
Ah,
Yeah.
that's happened to me. Not
thank
here,
you. Okay.
not with Concom,
Sorry,
but
Melissa.
with other
Oh,
things.
Alyssa.
Oh, sorry. I'm still getting used to
Yeah.
adding your name to the list, I guess.
Here they come.
Let's talk about updating your dues, and then you can get on the list. No, I'm kidding. All right.
I
Let's
just
move
sent
on.
them to you,
Yep.
Melissa. Sorry about that. So it is a pile supported structure, and then the board can determine whether or not where you'd like the trees, if you'd like additional trees. And that's it for me, unless Alyssa has anything to add.
Alyssa, did you spell my name properly?
I would have just
Can we
clicked
please
on.
stop interrupting and just one at a time, please? Ms. Bergeron, do you have anything to add?
Just a comment on the trees. It's hard to see with the photo, and I didn't want to zoom in because the clarity wasn't great. So there was the tree on the Gosnold side, and the other side, it's actually like a cluster of cedars. But I think the replacement of 2 would be appropriate. Thank you.
All right. Matt, was that an official offer that you're going to provide 2 more trees?
Yes, that was what I talked to Alyssa about and suggesting, well, asking if she thought that would be appropriate. And it was decided to leave it up to you guys.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. Commissioner comments. Betsy.
So I'll weigh in. Yes, we'll accept, at least I will accept the offer of the trees. And as far as I'm concerned, the staff can work with you and your clients to as to what they should be and where they should be. And actually, I have one more thing, Matt, and this is just to make things a little bit easier. You had everything on there that we needed to have on there, but it would have been nice to have a separate sheet with the existing, because I had to work harder than I wanted to on a Sunday morning. But I mean, the information was there. But
Sure.
if you want the commissioners to be happier when they're out there viewing it, that would be useful. Thanks.
Mr.
That's all,
Chairman,
Jamie.
may I just follow up on that, Matt? When you do that, when you provide your existing conditions plan, we still need the grayed out outline of the existing house under your proposed house, so we can make sure things aren't moving closer to the resource areas.
I'm hearing it all loud and clear. We're
Thank you.
still pushing through some styles here on the Holmes McGrath side. We'll have an announcement in a couple of weeks about a merger with Cape and Islands, and you're going to see more consistent standards come out.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All right. Courtney.
As I did get the plans, and I had one question. There's no foundation plan, and you're putting the building on footings, so that's kind of the most critical element here, because it has to do with scope of work and everything else. At the risk of being a PIA, and I won't bother to spell that out. I want to understand, what are the soils? You've got questions of high water, to support this structure. I don't have a problem with your plan, with your drawings, with adding 2 trees and all of that and doing what you're doing, because I think basically it's good. It's just that the foundation, digging a foundation is going to have, obviously, an economic impact, or rather an environmental impact. And so I need to understand what we're looking at. That's my only comment. Other than that, it's fine.
I might be able to answer some of your questions if the chair would like.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So what they're planning on doing is using helical piles that will be essentially spun into the ground.
Right.
Post up on top of those. So it's going to be it's not very intrusive. There's not a lot of digging required for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's specifically because of the site conditions.
Yep.
The architectural set that was set over was more to provide a picture for the commissioners of what's going on, and it didn't have the structural details to it. But it's all going to be within the limit of work, and this is going to be no more invasive than any typical construction that didn't have the groundwater element here.
And that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I think we just need to have that as part of the record.
We can submit the foundation plan once it's finalized, sure.
Yeah, I think it's important because you're right. If you do it the way you're suggesting, it won't be terribly invasive. And if the engineer says that the way you're proposing is going to support the structure, that's not going to be an issue, then that's fine with me. It's just that it needs to be in there. And you and I think, have had this conversation before on other projects. So you should be forewarned that I'm lurking on the background and will ask this question.
Good word. All right. Matt, I have two questions. One is, I'm not sure it's kind of relevant, but I'm curious. The sewer easement, does that is that inclusive of a setback? Meaning, is there no setback to an easement?
No setback. You are correct. No setback to the easement. It's a.
Hey, did you hear that, everybody? You said I was correct.
It's an apportioning of rights. It's delineating where rights are. That's all. There's no zoning implications.
Thank you for clarifying that. My other question is the enclosed area, and I neglected to measure it. What is the footage of the enclosed area?
I don't have that number handy, but just keep in mind this is a zone we're here dealing with here. So there's no limitation that the entire area could be enclosed with the proper flood vents.
Fair enough. Thank you. Kevin.
No, okay. I have a better understanding now. Thank you.
All right. Maury.
I had a couple questions. What's the first floor elevation of the existing house? Because there are no spot elevations on this plan.
Of the existing house?
Which brings me to Betsy's question or recommendation that you have a existing condition plan. It really helps.
Sure, but the existing house is being completely torn down.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we want to know what the, we want to know what the,
Over each other.
I know it's being torn down. I want to know what the first floor elevation is.
For comparison.
Because again, there's not one spot elevation on this plan.
Maury, the first floor elevation on the revised plan with the revised mitigation says 15.33.
That's the proposed.
That's a proposed house.
that's the new,
I'm
that's
sorry.
the new house.
Yeah, the new house is clear as a bell. We look at carbon footprint and everything, and here we're tearing down a perfectly healthy house, but that's neither here nor there. They have every right to do that, but I'm looking at the architecturals and the drive under, and that it's obviously can't exceed 35 feet. But there's just no spot elevations on this plan, which is very strange. And the locust, to be honest, you could be anywhere on the moon with your locust map. So you need to tighten those up to show us where it really is, because it doesn't indicate that you're in Woods Hole or East Falmouth or anything. But those are just things that you're going to tweak with when you take over your company.
So the first floor is approximately elevation 8. The ground around there is 3, goes about 3 to 5.
Okay.
The locust map's not how we normally do it, but they did identify the streets surrounding it. So it's
So
not
that
what
when you look
it's
down
not what
at
you would
that-
like to see for a locust map. I can
Yes.
agree with you. on that.
Everybody else does it the other way, and so you're going to start doing it that way. So again, on your future plans, existing and spot elevations would be very helpful, and I think we should require it. It just makes our life easier, and it makes it easier for staff and everyone else. Thank you.
I agree with you. That information should be on there.
Yes, it should. And I agree. You're in the middle of transition, so we'll give you a bye.
Thank you.
Not for the one by, Matt.
All right. Melissa.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair, Jamie. Matt, I have some questions about the plan. I'm glad I'm not the only one who couldn't read the plan very well. I would like to put in a little word about the legend. I can barely see the legend, and I assume that's for the old house. There seems to be no legend for the new house. I can't find a legend anywhere on this that seems relevant to the new house. And so I have a question for you. Next to where it says deck, elevation 15.33, there's some things that look like bricks. It says +5, and then there's the same thing in the back, +5.1. What is that?
Yeah, so that plus then the number is showing you what is the proposed grade there.
But what's the brick stuff? The brick looking stuff?
Those are hardscape.
So there is hardscape underneath here that you're doing. So do we count the hardscape towards what you're covering?
Yes, all the driveway, all the hardscape, everything has been counted within buffer zone B.
Okay, so that's sort of like a patio that's off to the side of the deck and a little patio off to the back?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so that the water can flow faster across the property than as it flows. Okay.
I think it would,
yeah. Couple questions about trees. Yes, I'll agree with all the prior comments about love to have the 2 trees replaced. Right along the line of work, there are 4 rather substantial trees. Are they bayberries or olives or something like that? Are they not going to be disturbed? Are they going to
Correct.
remain? Okay, just wanted to confirm that. And then a question about the property itself. I mean, people have been asking about the ground level, and Courtney asked about foundation. I mean, the old coastal resiliency person in me says, I was out here twice because it's in my walking area, and it's really spongy out there right now. And I hope you've looked at the vulnerability study the town did a few years ago, because this property is categorized as being land, living with water by 2030, which is basically 7 years from now. So it's going to have water basically twice a day, 7 years from now. And that when you look at what happens by 2050, basically there's a new harbor forming in Woods Hole, from Stony through whatever that little pond is just to the north of this property, and then into Eel Pond. So, I mean, this property doesn't have long as far as property is concerned. And so I really hope that foundation is designed properly if they really want to use it, and that they're thinking about alternatives for when we can't provide water and sewer services and things like that. But living with water is how this area is classified. The whole neighborhood is classified by 2030. I don't know if you folks have looked at that data yet, but the Woods Hole group did it 2 years ago with the town. Are you familiar with this study, Matt?
I'm familiar with it. Haven't really looked at it for impacts on this particular property. The owners like this property, and this is what they want to do with it. I know that there is a dune being proposed. I think I saw.
Yeah.
They're going to remove the tennis courts and propose a dune over there. I did see something along those lines.
Yeah,
So
that's the general
I'll make
trend.
sure that they are aware of that information. And
Yeah, before they-
pass it along.
Before they tear down, as Maurice called it, a perfectly useful building that has at least 7 more, maybe has 7 more years worth of use in it. They just might want to know that. But Okay, so that's hardscape down on the ground and the trees are staying. And if you guys could in the future, then make your legends a little more legible. That'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anything the staff would like to add? All right, Matt, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, sir.
All right. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Gladfelter.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. If there's nothing further,
Good question.
Courtney?
So, how are we dealing with the foundation plan?
Can't we condition it?
Matt offered to submit it.
Does the board
Okay.
want to review the foundation plan prior to closing or just
Well,
the middle
yeah,
of
I
the?
mean, this, Melissa raises a good question, and I had only done, I was just basically dealing from the gut as a principle that I think in an area like this, I want to see a foundation plan. Melissa underlined that in dramatic terms. Personally, I
Well,
think.
this is being
this-
designed by a
Yeah, I
structural
personally
engineer.
think this is significant enough that there should be a continuance.
This is a common technology using,
No, I understand the technology. I understand the technology very well, Betsy. I just think we need to be prudent on this. And I think we need to see a foundation plan. We need to look at it and understand what it's there and what the implications are and what the potential environmental impact is, particularly given sea level rise. So, I mean, if the commission wants to vote to close the hearing, that's fine. I will vote against it, but we'll move on. And then if the commission is comfortable taking a supplemental plan, that's fine.
Maury?
I'm all set. I'm just gonna vote.
Okay. Matt, did you have anything else?
Yeah, the type of foundation does not change the requirements. It does not change the project's ability to meet the performance standards. As stated, it's common technology and it is designed by a professional engineer. And they really are the ones that have the expertise to do that. We'll happily submit the plan as part of the record. But I think you can rest assured, given where this property is, it's in between two streets. There's going to be no adverse impact to the environment, and we will be able to meet the requirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
If I can
Anything?
make a comment, please. Matt, I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, you're certainly within the regulations as they currently exist. And so to design a foundation this way meets the regulations. I think that my concern and Melissa's concern is sea level rise, which basically hasn't been really fully incorporated into our regulations or our mindset or other things of that sort. And yet I think, and this is an intellectual thing, it's not a regulatory thing, I think that homeowners and engineers and builders should be well advised that, that this is a problem and they should plan for it. And, you want to submit a plan and we'll vote for it, that's fine. I'm just making my point.
And I respect
you.
that, Courtney, and I respect your experience in this matter as well.
No, and I do too, Matt. You're absolutely correct. I have no problem with the plan and the engineering involved. I'm concerned in a bigger picture that beyond our regulations. And I'm not sure how to address that, quite honestly. And other than wasting the commission's time, but, it's a real concern.
Not a waste of time, it's just a discussion for another time. Melissa, if it's something new?
I'd just like to sort of second what Courtney's saying and say that the commission should think about discussing this in the near future, because we're going to see more and more properties that are getting closer to the inundation stages in the very near future. I mean, if you think about it, standard mortgage is only 30 years, and 2050 is 30 years out now. So, I mean, that's not our problem, but I think we need to start thinking and acting with a little more prescience and precedence towards the future. A little more cautiously on things that are so close. That's all.
Thank you,
Just-
Matt.
Just one point I want to point out is that we're actually doing a pile supported foundation in an A zone. So we're designing to higher standards than is required for an A zone. There could be full vertical walls there with flood vents. And what you want to have happen is people to use pile supported structures in flood zones. So we're actually going above and beyond at this point in time.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Thank you, Matt. But I think, yeah, it's at some point in the future, it could be a real problem. So I'm just throwing it out there for
Yeah.
now.
That's a discussion we need to have down the road because it
We should
may
have it.
or may not affect regulations. Jen, you had something?
Yes, and it's new. Two things, because Matt just brought something up. One, Matt, dewatering. Do you know what time of year they tend to build this house? Because I know there's a house right down the road from this. They did a pile supported, a helical one. They were in the V zone, and I do remember it being a mess over there when they were trying to dewater. Is there a plan to do anything but this basin to dewater? I know that you had made a kind of a comment that there was going to be dewatering, but it was going to be okay. But the talk about high groundwater and just my memory just clicked in about the other house down the road. What are your provisions to dewater if it goes kind of wrong with this basin?
I don't know if I fully understand the question. So we provided a dewatering basin and included that scope in the narrative in the project because we may need it. This pile supported system is so that we won't need it.
Okay.
So we're thinking that a simple silt bag in that basin, if needed, would be enough. And
Okay.
I'm not sure what time of year when they're planning on doing this.
Well, I would just say, maybe the summertime when the groundwater's a little lower, not the springtime. I don't know. I'm just saying that I just remember right down the road from here was a real big fiasco about 10 years ago when they tried to do something like this. And my second question is, and this is just because you said that you were having the lower level was going to have flood vents, but the enclosed space cannot have flood vents because it has the elevator in it. And then the other architecturals kind of look like that horizontal lattice work. So are you going to still use the horizontal lattice work, or are you going to have walls with flood vents?
I think there was a miscommunication there. I'm saying the structure could have vertical walls with flood
Okay.
vents.
Thank you. I caught flood vents and I'm like, thank you. All set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Another thing we should add for future discussion is maybe we can get somebody to do a presentation on helical piles. Because I think there's a vast misunderstanding or misconception of what and how these are applied. And I think if everybody understood how they're actually installed, you'd find there's minimal disruption. So again, that's for down the road. Sorry, Matt, didn't mean to take up your time to talk
No,
about
we
that.
can help coordinate that with the manufacturer through Jen if you'd like.
That'd be fantastic. I mean, because again, it is something that's coming down the road more and more. So if there's an understanding of it, people would see that it's not as invasive as it may seem. All right, moving forward, we have a
Lori
motion
had
and
her
a
hand
second.
up, Mr.
Lori
Chairman.
had a question.
I was just gonna say, you can YouTube it and Google it. It's out
Yeah.
there.
It's true. You can learn anything on YouTube.
You know.
Yep.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. If there's no more comments. We're voting. Again, the motion and the second is to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, no.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, yes.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's eye.
Melissa,
You're muted,
Are
Melissa.
You're
Sorry, Right tug eye.
all right. 5-1. The hearing is closed. Thank you,
Thank you.
Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
All right, we all know what our homework is. Next up, Robert A. Ament, Wire Trustee, 40 Associates Road Nominee Trust, 40 Associates Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct an existing licensed walkway in kind. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until December 7th.
Bird, so move.
Carla Hawk's
Gladfelter, second.
And can you give us the reason?
They want some time to address the staff report, and the staff had a conversation with the applicant's representative this afternoon, and they would like additional time. And just to let you know, Courtney, they were looking for a January timeframe, but we don't have the January schedule set yet because I need to know when the April town meeting is so I can kind of block off some weeks. So I fully expect an additional continuance beyond December 7th.
Fair enough. Thank you for the explanation.
Not a problem.
sun in your eyes, Betsy?
No, I have a question.
Okay.
Well, I see Matt's still part of our board. And this was a Holmes and McGrath thing too. And just a word, when I went out to check the 40 Associates Road, there was no sign there. I was stupid enough to drive by first, and then I turned around and realized I was too far, and I came back, and there is a big stone that says 40, but there was no sign indicating this site.
I actually, with Betsy, when you were talking right before you said that, I put a map back in the role of attendees, but we will make them aware of that and make sure that their signs are on their sites.
Yeah, it has to do with how cranky you are when you get to the site if you don't have certain things.
Maury,
And we had a discussion of this several months ago about, it used to have a bright orange spray painted sign with the house number on it, and it said for Concom. And it really does make a helpful difference for us.
I will relay that information to all of the engineers.
please, and thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until December 7th. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's eye.
Melissa.
Right tug eye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until December 7th. Next up, Eric Shumway, 182 Edgewater Drive East, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise RAZE an existing single-family dwelling, construct a new single-family dwelling with attached garage, deck, and covered porch, reconfigure the driveway and upgrade the existing sewage disposal system to an IA septic system. Then,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Mike Borselli up to present his project.
Mr. Borselli, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant, Eric Shumway. With your permission, I'll share my screen.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I hope you all saw my sign on the frontage if you went to the site.
Yes, we did.
Okay, good. I don't want to start off on the wrong foot. I'm sharing with you now the plan of existing conditions for the property at 182 Edgewater Drive East. This is a typical developed residential lot on Seacoast Shores. It's a lot containing just over 12,000 square feet of land. It has a dwelling, detached garage directly adjacent to it, a rather uniquely shaped driveway, a walkway, a large deck, and then access to a walkway that leads to a licensed dock. A few years ago, I received an order of conditions to repair the dock under a previous owner. That work was done. A certificate of compliance was issued. Some of the old notes are on here about that. Those don't apply and can be removed from the plan. The wetland resources of note, this lot has frontage on Childs River, so there's land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, and as you work towards the house, there's a coastal beach, a salt marsh, and then the land slopes up moderately, and it's in a flood zone, so it meets the definition of a coastal bank. In fact, the house is built on the coastal bank. The lot is sloping, so the house is designed as a walkout style house with a deck at the upper level, which is the main living level. The boundary of the coastal bank is directly adjacent to and actually coincident with the boundary of the flood hazard zone, which is shown in blue. It's an AE13 flood hazard zone. I've shown on the plan the associated no disturbance zone A from the salt marsh as this green line, the no disturbance zone A from the top of bank, which is here, almost coincident with the salt marsh no disturbance zone. And then there's the outer buffer zone B from the top of the coastal bank. Other features of note on the site are we located the trees, significant trees in and around the property. I show the location of the existing septic system. The applicant is proposing to tear down this house and reconstruct it. He made a value judgment that the house has outlived its actual life. The layout is not really efficient. The deck is rather large, and he would like to he has designed a new house that has more efficient floor plan, better living space, but also meets the performance standards of your regulations. The proposed plan. So the proposed plan shows the new house in the new deck, but in the background in red, you can see the framework of the existing house. So this is a classic redevelopment project. Your regulations for work in a buffer zone at FWR 10.18 talk about work in a developed resource area buffer. And the specific standards are if you do improvements, including raise and reconstruct, that you can't move closer to the resource areas than the present primary structure. This house has been designed to do that. The other standard is to do analysis of the impervious surfaces, both existing and proposed, and any increases you have to provide mitigation planting for. We did that analysis. We like to do it in a shaded plan to make it obvious. This is the impervious surface analysis for the existing condition, and it shows in blue the A zone impervious surfaces, and it shows in orange the B zone impervious surfaces. And the numbers are highlighted here, the square footages. That's for existing, and then I did the similar for proposed. And the breakdown of all the numbers is here. the breakdown of the numbers is also on the main site plan down here. And I'll just go through the summary of those numbers just by pointing them out to you. The impervious existing in the A zone is just over 3,300 square feet. The proposed in the A zone is 3,066, so there's a slight decrease of 245. And then the same analysis of the B zone, 1761 dropping to 1719. So there's a decrease in the B zone as well of 42 square feet. It was done in collaboration with the architect. We worked very closely to try to fit this house into the site as best we could and meet that parameter. So the new house has a different shape. It has a smaller deck. It has an attached garage. And the driveway has been reconfigured, and there's an access walkway leading up to a covered porch. The lot, if you've been there, has very little outside living. It's basically an older home on a 12,000 square foot lot that's moderately sloping. So there's really no outside recreational areas. So the property owner makes use of the deck and the dock for his recreational uses. And the front yard is reserved for driveway and parking. So the new design is basically the same concept as existing with different architecture, and we attempted to fit it a little bit better on the site. The new, the existing house has 3 bedrooms. The proposed house has 4 bedrooms. The existing house has a Title V septic system. The proposed house has a denitrification septic system. I submitted with the application the nitrogen loading calculations, and they demonstrate that a developed house with a 3-bedroom without the requirement for a denitrifying septic system discharges a higher concentration of nitrogen than a proposed house with 4 bedrooms with a denitrification system. So there's actually an environmental improvement to doing the denite, even though there's the addition of 1 bedroom. And we've applied to the Board of Health, and the hearing is pending for the Board of Health. What I can also tell you about the site is there's a limit of work because of the narrowness of the site. There's a limit of work that wraps around right adjacent to an existing fence, and then it wraps around just to give us enough room to do the demolition and then the reconstruction. There's an access walkway to the porch. This is the denitrifying unit for the septic system, and the leaching field is being placed as far as possible from all wetland resources. It's in excess of 130 feet from the salt marsh. There's one little sliver of the new leaching field that's 93 feet from the top of the coastal bank. The rest of it is more than 100 feet from the top of the coastal bank. I don't know if I mentioned the dry wells. There's no dry wells now. There's dry wells proposed for roof runoff. And the sides of the property are going to closely mimic the grades that exist in now. There'll be some, slight just backfilling and grading along the sides. So there's going to be some areas that need to be restored with and stabilized with landscaping. There were some comments in the staff report that I'd like to address. I guess I'll start with the landscaping comments. The applicant hasn't developed a formal landscape plan, but he's willing to work with staff to propose native plantings on both sides of the house just to restore. There's no plans to have any lawn areas on the sides. These are narrow areas that are basically going to be restored back to what they were before. He would certainly wants to reserve the right to be able to walk around through the landscape on both sides, but there's no plans for any patios or anything like that on either side. All the outside living would be on the deck. But we would like recommendations from the staff if we could work with them on proper shrub selection in these areas. There was another comment about trees. The goal is to keep all the trees. The trees are identified. There's one tree because of the driveway reconfiguration in the B zone. I'm showing it here, this 12-inch oak that we're going to have to remove, and we're happy to replace that, wherever it makes sense as part of the restoration of the site after the house is constructed. There was a question about after the house is demolished, how will access be reconnected to the dock? This walkway is the new link to the dock. The dock is at a much lower level than the house. The house has been designed to meet FEMA standards. The new house, the current house does not meet FEMA standards in any way. There's no flood vents. There's no provisions for construction in a flood zone. The new house has been designed that way. The first floor living is at 21. And this is designed to be a walkout. So there's a basement level, and the basement level is 11. The existing grade at this side of the house is 10.5 to 11. So this is a walkout, and this deck is when you walk out, you're walking out under the deck. But this walkway will replace this red configuration, and it'll extend under the deck to the grade. So access to the dock is under the deck through the walkout, or if you walk through the side of the property. But more often than not, it would be accessed through the house under the deck. The dock is only it's lower. It's elevation 6, and this would just connect, as you've seen, typical walkways to docks. What else? I think that there was one other comment from staff about the kayak storage. We understand those comments. I will advise my client about the proper storage of the kayaks. I would expect when the new house is constructed, he'd store them under the deck. He'd probably create some sort of storage racks that could be at the walkout level under the deck. And then there was a comment that the kayak should be launched from the dock as opposed to walking through the salt marsh to sort of discourage storage of the kayaks in the salt marsh. I think that sums it up, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Mike. Jen?
Yes, Mike. Thank you for addressing the points in the staff report. Did you address the coastal bank, Mike?
Did I? In what way?
About the planting on the coastal bank. I know you mentioned the planting on the side of the house. And yes, you can work with staff on something like that, but revegetating that bank area, that's
Oh yeah,
plan.
I mentioned the restoration just in general. I mean, once we get down around here on the coastal bank edges, we're certainly happy to. It'll be the same concept, and I would think the same type of vegetation. We just wanted some guidance on what plantings are appropriate. I was thinking viburnum and perhaps blueberry, because it's rather shady on both sides. But we didn't develop a landscape plan. There was no requirement for mitigation planting. So we thought it was appropriate to work with staff to work out those details.
Unfortunately, that might not be possible, Mike. We may need to have a plan, but let's see what the board says. Do you know a square footage area of the bare areas on there? Because there were quite a few bare areas on that bank. And there was an old restoration plan from the 80s that was done. Probably mimic.
Yeah, but based on my observations, I think the bare areas which are right adjacent to the deck the existing deck in red, you know, they may total, they total less than 500 square feet, probably closer to 300 square feet. And those areas are, the client's more than willing to plant in those areas.
So there's no plan for that area to become lawn underneath the red. They're gonna plant that area.
Yeah, there's no
On the
plans
bank.
for lawn. Correct.
Okay, we'll see how the board feels about that. I think that's all the remaining questions unless Alyssa had anything to add.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
All right. All right, commissioner comments. Courtney.
And I assume that the septic system that you're proposing will meet the new proposed Title V regulations that are going to be imposed in the next 5 years?
That's the goal. Yes. That's what
Okay.
the expectation of the Board of Health is. Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. No questions. Otherwise, good.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, I reiterate, it's a good project, well planned. I don't have a problem with the planting, having a landscape plan in the strictest sense. I think, you know, we can condition that those areas have to be filled, and if staff's not opposed to working with them, I mean, that works, no?
We
Won't work
can
on your end.
condition that, you know, those areas are vegetated with staff's guidance.
Yeah.
We just can't
Okay.
accept a full-scale landscaping plan.
Okay. Kevin.
After that last question, fine.
Maury?
I just had a couple questions. You're asking for 4 variances of the Board of Health, and you're increasing flow?
Yes. It's appropriate, and they've done it in the past, and you folks have actually approved the property just not too far north from here on Edgewater Drive East, where the same thing happened. It was the Valonius property where there was an addition of 1 bedroom, and the nitrogen loading calculations yield a better result even with adding a bedroom with the D-Nite than if you didn't.
All right, so as long as Board of Health gives, we get a copy from the Board of Health that they approved it, that's all.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Because
I am-
usually you get them first.
Well, I did go to them and they asked for more information and I had to continue it. So I'm going back in a couple weeks, and what they want, I'm very confident they're going to issue an approval. They
What
just
they
wanted
want.
more information on the technology we're using.
Because I was gonna say that's, if the new what they're asking for in the next 5 years, is gonna ask for a lot more removal than that, but
Yeah, 12
hopefully we'll
parts.
have
per
things
million.
that we can add to it at that point.
Yeah, we're going to be proposing one that treats to 12 parts per million as opposed to the more recent standard, which was 19 parts per million.
All right, the next thing is, Mike, on your 2 plans, which I love your color plans, by the way. Your existing and your proposed, you forgot to put that blue walkway, which is about 200 square feet on your proposed. The walkway that's to the, where am I? To the south? The blue, and then you flip the page, it's not on there.
Oh,
And you're removing it, so, I mean, it's a good thing. I'm happy.
Yeah. yeah. Well,
Okay.
well, here's the walkway that exists that we're showing being removed.
I don't see anything, Mike.
Oh, you can't see it?
No, just you.
Not sure.
Oh, how about that?
Don't be stingy. There you
Yeah.
are.
This
Yeah.
is the existing condition walkway,
Correct. Yep.
and here's the proposed. Here.
Okay, so you're removing that whole walkway. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The other question I had is, you're talking about a walkout at 11 feet. to elevation 11,
Yes,
is that gonna be habitable space under there?
no, it
Okay.
can't be by FEMA standards.
Well, we know it won't be, but it's okay, as long as you say no. And the 12-inch oak, why do you have to remove that by the driveway?
I'll show you the plan in why. The 12-inch oak right here is just because this is the garage doors here and the driveway's proposing through. I mean, we talked about possibly sweeping the driveway around that tree, but it's kind of
Okay.
right in
All right.
line.
Gotcha. All right, so see the 12-inch one right above it? And see
Yes.
the limit of work behind it? Can you put the limit of work around that oak? Because anything within the limit of work is usually
Yes.
removed.
Good point.
And also the 18-inch that's on the southern side where it says, right by work,
Right there.
because we know there'll
Yep,
be.
I
all
can do
going.
that.
Yep.
Yes.
We'll condition that. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa?
Okay, thank you very much. Mike, thanks for your great plans.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, no complaints about the legibility of them and the sign out front. I have a question about this, the area where it says basement level elevation 11, and looking at the existing house versus the new house and wondering, so the coastal bank goes basically behind and in through the house there.
Through both
And-
houses, yes.
Through both houses, yeah. And I'm wondering, what is the exact, or what is the area that's, I guess it's, is it eastward of the coastal bank? What's the area that's down bank from the edge of the coast, from the top of the coastal bank in the new one versus the old house? Because it looks to me like we're actually increasing square
Um,
footage on the coastal bank, and I mean it just makes my skin crawl when I think about building a coastal banks. And I know you can do that because it's existing, but I'm wondering what the comparison of area is, because it looks like it's bigger.
I didn't do an actual calculation, but if you watch me trace,
Yeah,
I mean, here's the top of bank. So
Yeah.
here's the new. There's no deck over here for new. This is
Yeah.
this is deck today. That's not going to be deck. The new deck is here. So
Mhm.
so the new is being is like this, and the old is basically, similar. I think whatever we took away here and we added here is close to a wash.
I think
But I didn't do
I'm
the true number. It's going to be plus or minus, I would think, 50 square feet. I wasn't expecting that question. I didn't calculate that.
looking
And
at
I
the
haven't
actual.
I haven't even
house.
taken into account this being removed.
Okay, I'm actually looking at the house itself. I'm not
Oh, the
concerned about
house.
the decks, and
Oh,
maybe I'm mistaken thinking that that the decks, the decks are flow through, right? And there's no, it's impervious underneath, and the house itself
yeah.
is
Well, I mean, there's
going
a
to be
big chunk.
foundation. Yeah,
Here's-
so I'm
here's
looking
a
at
big
that.
Yeah. Well, I know of no performance standard that talks about distinguishing between the house and the deck, but I was trying to illustrate that the structure in general is effectively within a margin of a small amount, the same area seaward of the top of the bank.
Yeah, I guess I'm seeing that there's going to be more foundation work, more impervious in there. And I'm wondering, actually, can I defer to one of, Mr. Chair, may I defer to one of our conservation agents for some clarification on this? Is there a regulation? Jen or
So
Alyssa?
Melissa, are you asking if there's more foundation on the bank than there,
Yeah, if there's more
existing-
foundation on the bank, but it's not including the deck, how do we differentiate between foundation which is obviously impervious and deck, which
Well,
It's a
Mike would
little
have
less
to
damaging.
measure between the both plans.
I know, but is there,
Well,
I mean,
I think what Melissa's asking, is there a regulatory difference between the two? And
yeah,
I think the short answer is no.
there's not a difference.
Not in the regulations, Melissa.
there's no difference. Okay.
Yeah.
So then effectively we've got less structural area over the coastal bank with this new
Because
design.
we always have included decks as structures.
Mhm.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
we haven't really looked at foundation things, but that's definitely something we can put on our list to talk about. We will be looking at some of our regulations shortly.
Yeah. Oh, so we're working on a rewrite at some point.
Oh, let's not go there.
Okay.
Tweaking.
Stay on topic.
Tweaking. Okay. Thank you then. Other than that, then I guess, yeah, are they, the question about the kayak storage, back to Mr. Borselli? They're gonna be storing it on the coastal bank underneath the deck?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it'll be under a new structure, which is already a structure, yes.
Okay, but we're not dealing with V zones here, right?
No, this is not a V zone.
Yeah, okay. And I guess, and even though it's called the Child's River, we're not worried about 200-foot river boundaries or anything like that.
No, this is a coastal river,
Tidal river,
not
yeah.
considered a Rivers Act river.
Okay. Just confirming that. Thanks.
I have to be prepared to.
Yeah, I'm
You're
sorry,
fast.
you got the rookie here, Mike. I've got all kinds of questions. I'm counting on you to be frank with me, Mike. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Betsy,
I have no questions.
oh, come on, join the party. All right. Mike, do you remember like almost 2.5 years ago about learning how to share screens and all that? Now you just flop back and forth like,
It's like second nature.
who'd have thought? All right.
I miss seeing you, but this is a much better way to present.
Yeah. Very efficient. All right. Sorry, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any other questions or concerns from the commission? Mike, you have anything to add?
No, just that we'll work with staff and Mr. Shumway wants to do the right thing. I spoke to him about it today, about the planting on the areas adjacent to the new house.
Good.
I'll make a motion if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Sorry, Jamie.
All right.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Carl Hurd, second.
All right. Mike, just make sure we get the stuff from Board of Health when you're complete that process, please.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Steve, I wasn't ignoring you. I recognize that you've joined the meeting. I am excluding you from voting on this particular one. Don't take it personal.
Appropriate.
All right. Jen, do you feel otherwise?
No, I was fine. I didn't know when Steve had gotten. I noticed his hand raised halfway through. So, Steve, were you able to listen to the entire presentation, or did you miss some of it?
I assume I missed some of it. Michael was talking when I came in.
Okay, so that's appropriate, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I just want to play it the right way, that's all.
That's fine.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. If there's nothing further. All right, Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Hurd, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Melissa?
Right, guy.
It is unanimous with the existing quorum. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Boselli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, commissioners. Have a good night.
Night, Mike.
Good night, Mike.
All right.
All right. Again, let the record show that Mr. Patton has joined the meeting. Next up, Ronald A. Pointer, trustee, Ronald A. Pointer Living Trust, 77 Sandpoint Shores Drive, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a deck and staircase. Ben?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm promoting Tom Bunker up to present his project.
Mr. Bunker, you're up, sir.
All right, thank you. Without further ado, I'll introduce myself. I'm Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We prepared this plan. I'm here representing Ron Pointer, 77 Sandpoint Shores Drive, to construct an addition to the back of his house. And I will put my screen up and show you a couple pictures, if I may.
Thank you.
Okay, the first is just a shot off the town GIS, just to give you an idea of the location. This is Sandpoint Shores Drive, which is Sandpoint Shores is inland from Pinecrest Beach. The property is here, this rectangular piece, and there's this isolated freshwater wooded swamp at the back of the property. That's why we're here talking to you tonight. And I'll put our survey plan up here. So we have the property in the narrative. I go a little bit of history. Some time ago, we did a notice to construct this retaining wall and the mitigation planting at the base of it. And now they want to add what is shown in this heavier hatching here, this an addition. The resource areas in the back, this wooded marsh, wetland, freshwater wetland flagged by LEC earlier this year, runs along this location. There's a little path down there, and this land slopes up quite a few feet up to elevation 57, or about more than 20 feet higher than the water there, and inland, so there's no flood zone. We have a 50-foot zone A running along the property this way here, and then the 100-foot BVW zone B, which runs through the house. And the existing conditions are here. This is the zone B running through the house. Existing house, this is all one room. There's several stories of decks and balconies and things here, and stairs running down to the walkout level. And of course, this down at the walkout level, you can walk under the part of the room here, part of the house. So what he wants to do now is take off these stairs here, and on this plan, put in this a 10 by 12 deck, and then add more stairs, roughly the same, a little bit shorter because they're going to be landing at a higher elevation. But these stairs will come from the edge of the deck over to this location, sort of at the walkout level, and then there are other stairs that go back up to the front level. So I think it's pretty straightforward, as noted in the narrative. There is a little bit of added. There's added coverage from this addition here from what we're proposing in Zone B, plus also some previously added unpermitted added coverage in Zone B of this generator. But the Zone A of the wetland is entirely naturally vegetated, at least not badly, unnaturally, or non-natively, I should say. So anyway, it's fully vegetated here in the Zone A, and quite a bit of the Zone B is also vegetated. And as such, there is no requirement for mitigation planting. And it really is a kind of a small area. I don't think any benefit. There is the option to, or the suggestion to do some planting to increase the habitat value, but there's really a very small footprint on this lot. So we're not proposing any planting with this plan. that's the proposal, to put this addition on the back here, and I'll take my picture down.
Thank you, Tom. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I don't think I have any questions. Thank you, Tom, unless Alyssa has anything to add.
Ms. Bergeron?
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
All right. All right. Commissioner comments? I'll start. Tom, good plan. Kind of simple project. Kind of a no-brainer, really. But
I didn't want to say
we shall
that.
see. Yeah, I know. Maybe I shouldn't have, but you never know.
Yeah.
All right. Kevin?
No comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right. Maury?
No comments.
Melissa? You're on mute.
No comments other than I didn't see a sign in front of the house, Tom.
Ah,
We'll talk to my guy about that.
Yeah, okay.
Steve?
No comments. I just want to welcome myself to the meeting.
We're all glad you're here, Steve.
Thank you for the levity. Betsy?
No comments. I like Steve's cheerful outfit tonight too.
Yeah. Colors are for the wrong holiday, but that's okay.
He's
All right.
getting up to it.
Yeah. Hey, look at me. I'm the fashion police. All right, Courtney.
No questions.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Doesn't appear to be anything in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. What are you thinking?
Let's have a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird,
All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. If there are no other questions, comments, or concerns, we're voting. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Melissa?
Right, tall guy.
Steve?
Pat and I,
It is unanimous with a full quorum. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
Well, thank you. I'll see you later tonight.
Tom, I'm just going to move you back into attendees.
Sure. I'll wait.
Don't go away, Tom.
No, I'm glued here.
Next up, Richard and Catherine Rosa, 76 Dale Drive, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to enlarge the existing deck and reconfigure a staircase off the deck, construct an addition, and install mitigation plantings. Ben?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've moved Matt Costa back into the panelist to present his project.
Welcome back, Mr. Costa. You're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to welcome Steve to the meeting. Thanks, Steve. That made me laugh out loud. For the record, Matt Costa, on behalf of Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay. So we're here tonight under a notice of intent application to add some additions to a single family dwelling. We're over here in North Falmouth. It's Old Silver Beach right off to our left. It's Dale Drive. It fronts on an elaborate salt marsh system. And there's a coastal bank in the back of the property. I'm going to switch over to the plan. Your resource areas for this project include land under the ocean due to the brook. You got salt marsh. You have then transitions to coastal bank. You have land subject to coastal storm flowage located down here, A zone. This is what they call the X zone, non-hazard zone coming up. Due to the slope of the bank, due to the slope of this landform, the top of the coastal bank's located at the first significant break, and that's shown here on the plan. This is previously illegally developed buffer zone area. You can see in the green, buffer zone A has been delineated. We have timber retaining walls in the back, a single family structure, associated landscaping. Project is to propose some minor additions on the back deck and the front entry. This does result in a very small mitigation requirement due to the additions being over legally developed area. The mitigation is approximately 30 square feet. That's been proposed over in this corner here. This is a pretty straightforward project. We believe it meets all the applicable performance standards as we articulated in our narrative, and we respectfully request you issue an order of conditions. I will be happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Jen?
Yeah, Matt, can you address the removal of the trees on the property for us?
I'm not sure.
Best you can.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I think Alyssa had noted that some of the trees in the side yard were removed without permits. So just please remind, Alyssa can address that.
It looked like it was just one or two over the past few years. Certainly something we would have permitted. So just a friendly reminder to the homeowners that any tree work just requires a permit through our department.
Will do. Sorry, I didn't see that in the staff report. I saw a mention about the calculation and saw that Raul answered it, but I didn't see the trees. We'll pass that along.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. No additional comments, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Ms. Bergeron, do you have anything to add?
Yes, like Matt had said, Raul had addressed the square foot increase. The proposed addition for the deck is located over existing gravel. Looking back at aerials, it looks like it's been since at least 05. Matt, I know that you are proposing the 30 square feet of mitigation at a 3-to-1. You are in Riverfront too, so that will need to be doubled under the act.
Okay, so the act, I believe, requires a 2-to-1 mitigation, if I remember correctly.
I defer on that.
The Falmouth wetland buffers are more restrictive with a 3-to-1 requirement. So it'd be like double.
I believe they're treated separately because isn't that right, John? Are they treated separately? The riverfront in addition to
Treated them independently, Matt. So it's kind of like the DCPC regs. There's mitigation plus DCPC regs. This is buffer zone regulations in addition to the riverfront regs.
Okay. We have the room to accommodate that. That's we did a project at 176 Quoit Highway, a very large redevelopment in riverfront area, and it was not treated that way. This project's heard simultaneously under both sets of regulations, just so I get this straight for future projects. We're to take the mitigation requirement for the state for that area within that buffer zone, set aside that, and then add all of the mitigation on top of it for the town on top of it. Okay.
But it doesn't have to go in the buffer zone, Matt. It can go in riverfront area. See,
Okay.
like kind of like the DCPC regs, that it doesn't necessarily have to go in the buffer zone. It has to go within the DCPC. Same thing with riverfront. And if we missed it on the Quoit Highway one, we did.
Very well.
I don't remember this coming up before, and it could be me, but Jen,
It's come up.
Jen,
It's
you know
come
what
up
this-
a couple of times in the past, Mr. Chairman. We don't see a lot of riverfront projects. The one I can just remember is the one on Bayshore Drive, from Sullivan Engineering. We just did that one.
Yep. Okay. All right, I'll have to look at that. All right. All right. Commissioner comments. Kevin,
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Maury,
I just had a couple questions. I'm gonna reiterate the locus. But you're on that. The one question I had was, a shed permitted?
I
Because
don't
it's-
have the answer to that.
Okay, well, I think we should check that only because it's within what, like 20 feet of the coastal bank. So I just want to make sure that we either get mitigation for it or, the path. It appears that the path down to the salt marsh, which I don't know where they go once they get to the salt marsh, if they go over the salt marsh. But it appears that the path isn't on their property. The end of it at the salt marsh.
Yes, it does appear that way.
So who owns that property? Because it doesn't say on either side of the property or anywhere where usually they tell you butters. Is it the town
Getting there in 2 seconds,
or
guys.
is it Handy or?
I'll be there in
Okay. all
10
right.
seconds.
That I want to know.
Give me-
And another thing that Matt, we usually like to see on these plans is the dimensions of the house. You know, like, is it 18 by 32 or whatever, like all the areas of the house are usually shown. That was all. Cause that is a herring run.
all
the
right,
wing pond.
Ben,
It appears if it goes towards the back of the property, it appears it's the homeowners association property.
Okay.
And I'm checking on the shed now more.
So they should probably just get permission, or maybe you can just put it in the file that they had permission to go on the association property. I don't know. It might have been open space. That's what I'm curious, when they developed that back in the 80s.
We can look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Bergeron, you had something to add?
Just clarity on the shed. The aerials show it's been there since at least 2001.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if it's permitted yet, though.
I would have to give that a guess of a no.
All right, Maury, you good?
Good.
All right, Melissa?
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. I had the same question about the shed. And also along the path, it's not developed, so to speak, but it is definitely cleared. And there were two rather substantial oaks that have been felled. One looked like it was 16 inches, the other one maybe 10. Obviously felled, chainsaw slices, oaks fallen, not even cleared out or anything. Back to the requirement that anything that's cleared has to be permitted. Wondering if, I mean, you're asking to build in the A zone, at least that one deck, actually the deck and the stairs. I would hope that we would mitigate quite a bit, at least, and replace some rather substantial trees somehow. Yeah, that's about it. I was a little surprised at the blatant felling of the trees along the path. So,
Where along the path did you
oh,
see?
I know. I had another question. If you walk the path down to the river, okay, it was at the top. There are some they're 1x8 blocks, sort of cinder blocks, sort of embedded into the path, and then right around the first curve to the left, on the right hand side, there are two trees down. You know, one of them's 3 times the size of my head. And it's just slicing down, and the other one's about the size of my head and chainsawed and down.
You said
It's
that was
not-
at the bottom?
No, not at the bottom. At the first curve on the walkway. So if you right where you see where it says 3-inch wide path and there's the arrow, I put my notes in between the blue the flood zone line and that word, the arrow. And
We'll have
they
to
might
look
not,
into that.
my winter bark reading isn't up to par anymore. If you'd asked me 40 years ago, I could have told you with confidence that they're oaks. Now I'm saying oaks ? Something large though, but that's pretty bad. It's not like they fell over in a storm like the one at the river edge that's uprooted that nobody cleared out, which is fine. Yeah, so I'd like to do something about those. They're definitely on the property. But a question about the shed and permitting, and then you have on the little steps off the wood deck, it says deck sections and steps to be reconfigured. How are they? The image that's here looks like what was there in the house. How are they reconfigured?
They're just rebuilding some steps there.
They're just rebuilding them? As in,
There's a couple of steps there, I believe.
yeah, there are, but
They're gonna rebuild this new landing and steps there.
but to look like what? Because the image that's here on the plan actually looks like what's there right now.
Yeah, they want to rebuild it as shown on the plan.
But it already looks like that.
In
So-
kind.
So it's just gonna rebuild in kind. So replace the forts. Okay. It just said to be reconfigured, so I thought, to me, that means redesigned somehow. Okay, thank you. That's it.
All right. Steve,
Excellent questions, but I don't have any more. Thank you.
Betsy,
Questions, thanks.
all right. Courtney.
This isn't so much a question for, Matt. I'm a little confused. I've been on the commission since 2003. And so I may be misunderstanding the regulations. But, you know, my understanding is that the principle on the regulations is that when one regulation is more restrictive or more comprehensive than another, the more comprehensive trumps it. And so I would have assumed in this case here, if the riverfront mitigation requirements were such that they required 3 square feet and our regulations required 2 square feet, that if you had 3 square feet of mitigation, that would satisfy the requirement. So that's always been the principle under which I've operated, and obviously I must be wrong, but in reality, I think editorially, I think that's too restrictive. That's my only comment.
The
It's
goal
apples
is,
and oranges, Courtney. It's just
Yeah.
like the DCPC regulations. Give me a second, Betsy.
Yep.
Where your DCPC, you have your buffer zone regulations, which require certain plantings in the buffer zone, and your DCPC plantings that have required additional. And I've gone round and round with the engineers, not you, Matt, but on, you know, I've gotten into some bitter battles with the engineering groups that sit there and say, no, DCPCs are covered under the resource area buffer regs, and that's simply not true. They're in addition to, and that's the way the riverfront regs are. If we've
I'm
missed
certainly
it, we
will.
just-
Yeah, I'm certainly willing to stand corrected. I had operated under a misconception but that's fair enough.
And I think it's not a lot of plantings under the riverfront, it's just a 2-to-1, and I think Matt can accommodate it if he can accommodate the little tiny proposed mitigation area there. And like I said, it's not in the it doesn't necessarily need to be in the buffer zone as long as it's within that riverfront area and helps protect the riverfront area. But the riverfront area is independent of your buffer regs. This is a
Okay.
state regulation.
No, that's fair enough. It's not that I'm arguing against it. I'm just want to make sure it's clear. And I stand corrected, and Matt, you're gonna have to deal with it. Looks like Lori has her hand up.
Maury?
I just had a question or a comment for Matt, that you should also put on your plans where the existing rough location is of the septics. Just so when the guys are going in there, they're not wrecking it. That's a requirement. Are we gonna need to continue this with Melissa's discussion on the large oaks?
Seems like you're the true
Yeah.
guy, Matt.
I guess
Ben,
I'm also,
what do you think?
I think a continuance is warranted.
I'll move that we, has
Hold
everyone
on,
had a chance?
hold on.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, let's clarify what Matt needs to bring to the table, please.
Melissa, what would you like to see?
I think we need to have some kind of remediation for those 2 large oaks.
For the large oaks, okay.
Yeah, and actually, I'd like to know about the deck and the permitting. And maybe if I can get some clarification now, as the rookie once again, I thought that A zones were no build zones, no go zones.
A zones are no disturbance zones, but the board has allowed structures to move laterally as long as they're not moving closer. So if you do increase your structure laterally within that A zone, you would do a 3-to-1 mitigation for it. As long as it's not moving closer, you have allowed expansion in the A zone.
Okay, so for example, if this deck or whatever, if the existing structure there were all behind the A zone, we would not allow anything to go beyond the green line.
Correct.
It's a no-touch zone if it's naturally vegetated. If it's not naturally vegetated, then it's a legally disturbed buffer. We can alter within that buffer, provided we don't move any closer than the closest primary, the closest point of the primary.
Okay, thanks for tolerating me, folks.
Yeah.
It's a steep learning curve when I can't whisper to one of you at the table.
Well, Melissa, just think as you think around going around the whole coast, many of the houses here, many of the lots
Oh, I know.
almost all in the A zone.
I know.
So people wouldn't be able to do anything.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
So
All right. Courtney?
thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, I think one way to look at this, Melissa, is that this is a redevelopment. If this was a virgin soil and there was no house here, then absolutely there would be no development. But when you're dealing with this kind of reality, you have to tweak it.
Okay, thanks, folks. But yeah, those 2 oaks were really disturbing. If any of you walk down the path, you'll see them right on your right there. You'll go, wow, those are really big trees. So, and they weren't done within the past, 2 months, but they certainly, they've only been down for maybe a year, 2 years. There's no moss growing on them or anything. No, they didn't get turned into firewood either. They're just there, blatantly there.
Maury, did you have something?
No, you asked what would be the reason for continuing. It was the proof of the shed, Cat, Energy Association permission, and, the trees. So those were the things I think everybody brought up.
All right. Matt, is that clear enough what we're looking for?
Yeah, what, I'm sorry, on the association, that's, we're not proposing any work on an association.
No, I think they're looking for clarification on ownership of that, the path.
Ownership of that, okay.
Yeah, to make sure, you know, like if it's open space or association property, that you have permission to have the path there.
Ownership, gotcha.
All right. So Matt, if you don't mind, if you'd make a formal request.
Sure. What do we have for
Give me
options?
one step back. Let me see if I can't squish you on to. On the 30th, we have 5 new notices. Four continuances. 2 of those continuances haven't opened yet, and one of them is going to have significant abutter participation, and then two that have already been open. It's up to the board. We could do December 7th or November 30th, but November 30th might be a long night.
Matt, can you live with the 7?
Sure, we'll get the front row on the 7th. Nice, easy project like this should pass right through.
I don't disagree with you there, and that's why I liked the clarification of what we're looking for, because then in theory it just, you know, we only address what.
I'd like to
What was it
request a
open?
continuance till December 7th, please.
And you want me to put you on as the first continuance, right, Matt?
Yes.
Yes, please. Okay.
At the request of the applicant, I'll make a motion to continue this hearing till December 7th.
Hartog, second. Kevin
Alright.
has a question.
Not a
Hold on.
question, a comment. I would just want to remind Matt that December 7th is, Pearl
Yeah.
Harbor Day.
It's okay, Raul will
Other
be
than
there.
that, I'm
It won't be
fine.
me.
Oh, I think we should refrain from comments on that. Matt, thank you for working with us on the schedule though, really. All right, so we have, a motion. I'm sorry, I skipped a step. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function?
Nothing in the public chat.
Thank you. Almost blew it. Okay, we have a motion and a second and continues till December 7th. No further comments, questions, or concerns. We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawks, aye.
Melissa,
Hartog, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It was unanimous. We have continued this till December 7th. Thank you, Matt. Sorry for the
Thank
beating.
you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Matt.
Night, Matt.
Night,
Night, Matt.
night, John Boy.
Next one has been previously continued. That brings us to Brian Storms, 111 Little Neck Bars Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to expand the existing sunroom and porch, construct an addition within the footprint of an existing patio, and install mitigation and DCPC plantings. And for the record, Maury is not on this quorum because you recused. So there.
Am I on this quorum?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay.
I don't have a note otherwise.
Alyssa, do you have the quorum sheets?
And Betsy are on this one.
Nice
Okay.
try, Beth.
I'm hoping to get out of here quick. I don't think I'm on the votes.
All right. Jen?
Nothing. I was just gonna have Alyssa check and see if Betsy's on the votes and just so she can leave if she wants after this hearing. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, I promoted Tom Bunker up and Dan Celine up to present their continued project. Where Tom's continued and Dan's jumping on.
Thank you. For the record, I'm Tom Bunker. I was here 3 weeks ago presenting this plan and got sent home to do some homework. There were several issues, mainly doing with planting, the lack of the old 2007 mitigation planting being in place, and had to check out the location of other planting. And then there was a shower platform that had been enlarged since 2007 to add more planting. So I'll share my screen and pull up a picture for you. And I can point out, as a case in point, you were just talking about DCPC planting being in addition to other planting, and this is one we had 3 weeks ago. The DCPC is it's a different animal as far as calculating the planting, but we've also done riverfront areas where we've done the both types of planting. Anyway, I've done it, went out. I'll get to the easy part first. This shower deck back here is enlarged. I gave Alyssa a number. That number was how much enlarged total, but it was 25 square feet in Zone B. So we added 50 square feet of 2 times 25 mitigation planting for that deck. So that was the only addition of planting, except that we have this area here, which had a detail of what hadn't been planted before, was the area that was slated for planting in 2007, and which had been edited over the past 15 years. And there's still some native planting in there, but a lot of not native planting and grasses and some roses. And so now we have shown this area. Let me zoom in a little bit. I have some numbers on there. 760 square feet in this location of the green, and then 780 square feet in this location is 1,540 square feet, and there is about 60 square feet of clethra in this location already. So that would total the 1,600 square feet of planting that was required in 2007. And so these storms are preparing. Dan can speak more about the planting issue here, but from the 2007 plant list, Dan suggested I think one change, that they take out the high bush blueberry and put in Virginia rose. So we have 30 bayberry, 37 beach plum, and 44 Virginia rose in this area to be planted. And then the area up here along the fence, there actually was when we were out there with Jen and Alyssa, plant with orange berries, and I think that was a cultivar. It was a winterberry, but it must be a cultivar, a winterberry that has orange berries. So anyway, this area right here, we're not counting as any type of planting, and so we put all the other DCPC planting, which is go back over to here, the DCPC planting. 2022, 1,558 square feet. And then we have the mitigation, the buffer zone mitigation planting for the porch and deck that are being added, which is 207.5 times 2 is 415 square feet. This is the shower deck behind the house, 25 square feet added, as 50 square feet added. So there is 465 square feet of shrubs required for that, and the 3-to-1 in Zone A. Anyway, 586 plants. It comes out to 2,169 square feet of plants. And that is this location right here. There are some native shrubs along the fence here. Takes up where the swing set is now. So the swing set will be moved out into the lawn area. So this is 1,874 square feet, and then right along the top of the coastal bank in this location, where those stones are, putting in another 175 square feet in this location. So we have these. I adjusted the location of 2 of the trees to these locations here, where there's an opening in the canopy, a couple of cedar trees, and a flowering dogwood, Cornus Florida, in this location. So we have 5 native trees being planted, plus all of the shrubs. And it was, staff would like, I said that this area here, the 2007 planting, would have to be replanted before they sign off on the building permit. Dan can speak to whether he has located any stock to be planted. It's getting late in the season. But that's what we're planning to do. And there is a plant list over here also with inkberry, winterberry, arrowwood, some highbush blueberry, summer sweet, and some witch hazel or amelanchier in there, plus the 5 trees. So let me see if Dan, I'll take this down. I'll see if Dan has anything to say that I've forgotten to say.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I'm Dan Soline, Orici Soline Landscape Architects. I was brought onto the team about a week ago to assist with this effort to develop strategies for 2007 restoration and the 2022 mitigation plan. And Tom did a nice job of describing those both of those areas. I guess I would just simply add that the 2007 area is very sunny, so the Bayberry, Beach Pond, and Virginia Rose are great selections for that area, and the mitigation plantings will otherwise be in a quite shady area. So the plant selections for that area are shade tolerant, native plants. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to add about that. Tom mentioned the plant acquisition effort. Yes, it's late in the year. I'm sure you all can imagine that to acquire plants and to install them at this time of the year is challenging. But we have located the plants to complete the 2007 restoration, and the owners are eager to do that. So I would ask it if the commission closes the hearing tonight, and with the intention of preparing an order of conditions, if you might consider allowing us to restore the 2007 planting area beginning immediately, rather than to wait for the order to be issued. That would enable us to complete the planting in mid-November, rather than to undertake it in maybe early or mid-December, when the planting would be a little, just a kind of a unusual time to plant. So that's really my only request, and we'd like to take care of that issue, kind of clear the record and make things right. And And so I ask for your consideration of that request. Otherwise, I'm here to answer any questions, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, Dan. Jen?
I'm confused.
Oh,
What's your little 25 feet again? Your 25 square feet?
that's the increase in the shower deck in Zone B.
Okay. And so on your last plan, you had total area to be planted 2119. Right? Now you have a total area 2175?
Yeah.
And
We added 50 square feet because of that shower deck.
no, I understand that, but what about the plantings that are all ornamental that need to be replaced from the 2007 plan? What does that total square footage end up as?
Well, that's another 1,600.
That's another 1,600. And where is that? I'm sorry, where is that
Look at
on
the-
your tabulations over here?
The bottom, well, on the plan, the DCPC calculations up in the top middle of the plan, DCPC calculations 2007,
Got it. Okay.
but it's also shown as a list at the bottom left corner of the plan.
Got it. Okay. I was just getting confused.
It's confusing.
Okay. Problem with the waiting for the order, Dan, is we have to have the order recorded and everything. We can't allow you to work within that time frame. I know what you're trying to do. I know you're trying to get the plans in because, staff's gonna make a recommendation to the board that we don't sign off on a building permit until at least the violation aspect of this is dealt with, which is the 2007 DCPC plantings, correct, Dan?
Right, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So I do have some concerns with, going off and starting to do plantings without the board actually having an order or having it recorded or anything like that. That'll be up to the board. I can write something as fast as possible, but I also, feel that, this was a violation. I understand that they want to get started on their building permit, but again, why should it fall to the staff to hurry up and push everything else we have aside so we can write an order for somebody who basically did unpermitted work? That's where I'm standing on this one, but I can try to write it up as fast as possible. We do have to set a special meeting at the end of this meeting to vote orders, so we could have it done next week, Dan.
Yeah, if I could just speak to that, Jen, I think you know that my intent here is not to put any, unusual pressure on the commission or on the staff. That's, in fact, I guess I was hoping and am hoping that, we could just find a way, to enable the owners to proceed with restoration, planting with under in accordance with the plan that will be subject to the closure tonight, the closure of this hearing. And it's really really comes down to horticultural concern, and obviously the owners desire to clear this up so that they can begin restoration or renovation of their home in attempt to complete it by next spring. If things get pushed too late, it just kind of puts that at risk. So I'm just trying to help them, find a way forward.
Dan,
I
can we
understand that, sir, Dan, and I appreciate that you're advocating for your client. I get it.
Can we file an RDA for the planting? To allow the planting to go forward?
that'd back you up even more, Tom.
No,
Can I ask a question?
you'd have an RDA hearing in 2 weeks or
We'd have an RDA hearing on the 30th. You'd get an order faster than that.
you don't have a hearing. Well,
We have to schedule a special hearing, Tom, next week in order
Okay,
to
yeah.
vote these, because we won't be voting them again until the 21st day. So we have to have a special hearing next week.
okay, that was,
Can I ask a question?
Chair, the
We're only
chairman-
talking about the 2007 piece, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So why does that have to wait for the order of conditions? Or, from the building permit? And then the second part of the question, even though I didn't say it was a two-part, it is, isn't there a provision of, I forget the terminology, but you can proceed at the risk of your own peril?
First question I'll take is, I've had a discussion with Tom and Dan, and they understand that it was going to be the recommendation of staff to at least remedy the unpermitted and the violation of the previous order of conditions. So take out all the ornamentals that Melissa had identified during the last hearing, that Betsy identified, that the staff had identified, that they weren't native and they weren't in accordance with the 2007. And it was going to be our recommendation to this board that at least those plantings go in before staff signs off on a building permit. And that, I think, is why Dan is suggesting what he's doing, because he feels that the board will follow the staff's recommendation.
Well, I'm not necessarily picking sides, but I can understand Dan's concern. We're getting to the end of the season where they're not gonna be able to plant successfully. And would that hold up the building permit? Is that our problem? I'm just saying, is there a middle ground here?
Well, there is, but Mr. Chairman, you also have to understand, you're dealing with a violation. You're dealing with somebody that, basically put in mitigation plantings, didn't like them and took them out. This is a violation of a previous order of conditions. And now they're coming back asking for the board to, approve additional work. And I just feel that from a staff point of view, we would recommend that they correct the violation prior to allowing them to do additional work. If you feel that that's not necessary, that's up to the board.
I'm not saying I disagree with that. It's easy in hindsight to say this should have come up as an enforcement piece, All right, let's poll commissioners and see what the thinking is. And then we'll come back to staff if you're okay with that.
That's fine. I just have one question.
Accept.
The enforcement comment, this is pine stockade fence and everything, Mr. Chairman. We just don't go out and randomly walk on people's property. So when we noticed the violation, we brought it to the board's attention.
That's why I said in hindsight. All right. Before Courtney wigs out, go ahead.
So my question is, are we pretty clear as to what we're expecting the applicant to do? And we're just, at this point, it's a formality of issuing an order. So that's my first question. Does somebody have an answer for that?
I do believe they're clear on what they have to do, Courtney.
Okay. So, I realize this is a little different. If you issue an order of conditions, there's an appeal period of 30 days. If you want to do the work before the appeal period is up, you do so at your own risk. This is different because we haven't issued an order of conditions. So for them to proceed, in effect, they're not actually conforming with the rule, so they're actually violating the rule by doing the work without a permission. That's where that's a false comparison. However, May I make a suggestion? I think we all understand it's important to get these plantings in. We also understand what the conditions are. We also understand that if they did this work before we issued a formal condition and they had to make changes as a result of it, they would have to make changes. So my suggestion would be that the staff issue a letter that's down at the lowest level, which says that they can proceed with the work on their own risk. And therefore, it's, I've forgotten what the lowest level of an administrative review, I believe, is the terminology. So perhaps that's the way around all of this dilemma. So I'll throw that out for whatever it's worth.
We're gonna get to everybody, so relax. Okay, so, all right. Anything else, Courtney?
Nope.
All right. Kevin?
I understand Courtney's intent here, but either we stand by this or not. Creating some sort of magic that's trying to beat a date that may or may not happen. I'm not really interested in granting leniency, if you will, to somebody who, if past history is any indication, if they don't like the new greenery in a year, they'll take it out and put something else in. Sorry, I usually don't lose my temper like Kurt.
All right. Melissa?
Thank you, Jamie. I'll second Kevin, but also I'm wondering about the irrigation hose that is surfacing near the gate by the steps on the west side of the property. I believe the town does not like having irrigation systems set up. It's supposed to with resources.
Yeah, you brought that up 3 weeks
Yeah.
ago. That's what they said was they had a hose out there so they could wash their dog. There's that stone area there, so they had the hose out there so they could wash the dog when it came back out of the from swimming in Harbor Head.
So even though it's buried, it's just going out to the flagstone area that's going to be, okay, so that's not an irrigation system.
He said it's not an irrigation system. It's to clean their dog off.
Okay.
Is it buried in the ground, Tom?
Yeah.
I saw it. I think it was underground partly to come up to a spigot or something, but that's what they said it was for. I didn't see any irrigation there per se.
So there was a lot of fertilizer on the grass too when I was there. There were all the wonderful little pebbles, the colorful pebbles everywhere, which we also know is a no-no. So, yeah, I think we need to do something, really clarify that irrigation hose thing. I mean, sure, it's a dog hose, but now that the flagstone is being converted back to greenery, maybe the dog hose can be removed.
Mr. Chairman, I know what the board is trying to do, but I think the discussion about whether or not to allow the project to move forward, but prior to the issuance of an order of conditions, this board still has to vote to approve the project. So I think that conversation is, not to bog, just the technical parts of this, this hearing down. I think that conversation the board can have next week when you decide to approve the project. Because either way, Dan can't move forward until you either approve the project. And at that point, we can try to either get Dan an order right away or get him some approval to move forward.
Right. Okay. Melissa, did you have anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Steve?
Steve, you're on mute.
I'm in favor of issuing an order of conditions and reviewing this next week and trying to move this project forward.
Duly noted. Betsy?
Excuse me. I agree completely with what Steve said.
So profound. All right. So give everybody another chance. And I saw your hand, so just hang tight for a sec. So remember, we're looking at this project as a whole. We kind of got sidetracked a little bit there about this side piece. So just keep that in mind if you have any other comments. So Dan, you had something?
Well, first of all, I totally understand the upset, here with the work that went on, inappropriately. Tom and I had no part in that, so we really don't have. We're really here only to, try to assist people to make things right. I'm going to ask a question. I mean, have to say I've never been involved in a project that had any kind of enforcement action, against it. 30 some years, so I'm proud of that. But in the event that say that an enforcement order was issued, for the 2007, work, could that be done outside of this notice?
Say that last part again, please.
I just wondered if the commission could issue an enforcement order that requires the immediate restoration of the area disturbed of the 2007 planting area.
Well, that's kind of where I was going with it, but that's going to take long, if not longer. So the proper procedure right now is the way we're doing is we just look at the project now and get approval. I think any other avenue, an RDA or an enforcement order or whatever, would just, it'd probably bog it down even a little bit more. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
I agree, Dan, to do an enforcement order, we're gonna have to hold a hearing and then all that, so we're delaying it out. The most expedient and quickest way possible is because we have to schedule a special meeting next week. I can probably have this issued to you by the end of next week.
Thank you very much.
I'll do it as fast as I can.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah, but keep in mind, you have to write up the order conditions, but also we have to, we need 4 people to sign it. So, I guess that would be the not looking for a medal here, but that's the exceptional piece that we're going to throw in there to Dan and Tom, and that, because we could legitimately wait till the next meeting. We don't meet next week. So just so you know.
Well, technically, Mr. Chairman, you do have to schedule a special meeting because you don't meet for 2 weeks. You don't meet next week for town meeting, and you don't meet the week after because it's Thanksgiving. So we actually do technically need to schedule a hearing.
You're right. I'm sorry. Yep. Okay. All right. Hold on. Everybody relax. Okay. Kevin?
I shouldn't say this, but do we get double time if we come back next week?
Yeah, we do, Kevin.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm in.
For the $2 donation, I'll bring you coffee. Courtney?
I think we've reached a solution here that makes sense. It satisfies the requirement that we approve the project before, as a preliminary condition, and the mechanics of whether or not it's a order of conditions within 2 days or some kind of letter or something, it covers the ground. And I think we're all on the same page on that. And, you're talking about 10 days. Let's hope that global warming is such that you can get your plants in and they'll be great and life will be good and
Oh, look, you just made Melissa choke. All right,
Courtney.
is everybody comfortable with, have we resolved all the issues at hand, Jen?
Alyssa, do you have anything to add? You had your hand up raised earlier.
I'm sorry.
Nope, that's okay. I just, like others, had some concerns with the conversation. I would think that having the order in hand would be the way to go, considering the work took place unpermitted and would need to be permitted to be restored. That seems to be the typical trajectory. So I think it would be a slippery slope if we started writing letters to approve work early. But that was my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a motion? Can I make an order? A motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement?
Please do.
Well, then I make such a motion.
Bird second.
Gladfelter.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Is everybody clear on? I mean, it was continued, so we don't have to beat everything to death. All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. If there's no other questions, comments, or concerns. All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Frantag, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Bunker. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Saline.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Night, Dan. Night, Tom.
I'll
Night.
get it to you as fast as I can, Dan.
Hey, thanks, Jennifer. I really appreciate
No
it.
problem.
Thank you, Jen.
All right, the next hearing has been previously continued. That brings us to vote, order of conditions. First up, Norman Zarsky, 406 Seacoast Shores Boulevard, East Falmouth, Mass. And welcome back, Maury.
Alyssa, is Betsy on any of these quorums?
Yes,
She's
I'm on both of them.
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
on both of them, Jen.
Okay, I'm just
I
trying to.
realized why I was confused.
Okay. Just trying to help you out, Beth.
And I appreciate it. And believe me, I'd be out of here if I didn't have a responsibility, but I do.
Okay, hang on. Revised plan, I just have to refresh my memory. Oh, this is the one with the little boardwalk and the other boardwalk.
The boardwalk to go to the dock.
Yeah,
Yes.
And the slate
Yep.
walkway.
very
Did we ever-
strange design.
Did we ever figure out what was happening with the slate walkway?
It's staying. That's what the plan came. That's what we're voting on.
Okay. I have a thing that says revised plan. Why do I have a note that says revised plan?
Maybe they did revise it and take it off, Melissa.
See, they had an ask.
No, I
But we
think
never-
Mike was gonna talk to his client, and if he was gonna remove it, they were gonna do a revised plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't have a revised plan. We're looking at what was,
Yeah, what was permitted? I mean, what was on?
What
this
was
original
presented
plan,
to us.
which was to take the small walkway and move it down to attach it to the main pier structure to provide access over the marsh.
Not exactly. It's taken the walkway down completely and building an elevated
Yeah.
structure.
The structured trade.
It's a structure trade, right?
Structured trade.
So the the existing thing is going away. And so that's what we're doing. We're not allowing a replacement.
Correct.
Okay,
Well, they're moving it downstream, so to speak.
well, okay, but whatever. Then they can't put another set of stairs down after they move it.
Well, they're gonna have two stairs. That was the one question that Jamie asked right in the beginning of that hearing. They are gonna have two stairs that go down and they're putting a new bulkhead in.
Yeah, they're putting the little steps over the
Yeah, because they're putting
Walkway.
in a sheet pile bulkhead that'll be about 2 feet above grade. Then they're
Right.
gonna reestablish the 15-foot buffer, right? Alyssa, that was, required from lot line to lot line. And then they're gonna build 2 steps where that existing walkway is, over that sheet bulkhead to just access the beach area.
And flow through decking.
Yeah,
over the salt
yes,
marsh.
flow through.
It'll be a very, clean everything right up.
Yep.
All right, anybody have anything they want to see? Courtney?
No, I'll just, move to accept the order as discussed.
Carlo Hawk,
Second.
second.
All right. Does anybody have anything else they want to see or hear in that? All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. If you're ready, we're gonna vote. All right, Betsy,
Gladfelder, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Melissa,
Fragile guy.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Michael and Doralee Bingham, trustees, the Bingham Revocable Trust, 27 Crosby Lane, Falmouth, Mass.
this is to rebuild the little dock in the Moonakis River and the ACEC, back in kind. They did partially reconstruct it without permits, so that's gonna have to be removed, and the whole thing will have to be through flow decking, as you guys discussed at the hearing. And there was also talk about using ACQ treated lumber. If everybody is good with that, your freshwater dock regulations specifically state no CCA. Your saltwater dock regulations say no CCA. Your freshwater dock regulations state no chemically treated wood at all. But if this board is okay with ACQ and the marine environment, we'll be fine with that and write that in.
Works for me.
For the record, refresh us on ACQ.
No arsenic.
Okay. So it's typical pressure treated.
Yeah.
Or pressure treated.
Yeah, well, it's the new version. so to
Laura, you
speak.
good
I
with
mean-
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because freshwater is the only one that none's allowed. It's locust or cedar.
Yeah. It's the difference between your 2 sets of dock regs. And again, the part that they reconstructed, they had requested to keep, and the staff's recommendation is they remove it and put all through flow decking because it is over salt marsh.
And we discussed that.
We discussed it. I make a motion to accept as discussed.
Gladfelder, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Is there anything else? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelder, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Melissa,
Fragile guy.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Before you all run away, we have no meetings next week or the week after. Asterisk, we will have to coordinate a quick meeting for orders. Like
Do we wanna-
maybe next
Do
week
do we want
sometime.
to do that now? Do we want
Sure.
to? Now?
The staff can meet during the day, we can meet early in the morning, we can meet whenever this board would like to meet. So, I mean, we're on Zoom, so to us, it's just fitted into our schedules. Let me bring up the calendar right now. It's really up to the board. I'm not sure what everybody's schedule is next week. Jamie and Maury, I think you guys are the one. Jamie, definitely let's find out where you are, your schedule is. Melissa, you said you're traveling. So Melissa's out, wrong time zone. Betsy, you around?
I'm here. I'm here. I have a few things scheduled next week, but if,
Okay.
if it's
Jamie, what's
scheduled
best
when
for
I'm
you?
not,
Let's start with you, Jamie.
I can do anything. We're doing it over Zoom, so as long as you don't mind sawdust flying in the background.
Nope, not at all. Let's see. Monday's pretty jammed for me.
Excuse me, Jen.
Remember, you have to write the order, so.
No, I know.
Why don't
I'm,
why don't you
and I'm
start with
fine
that first, giving yourself enough time?
Jen, I'm available until early afternoon on Tuesday.
Okay, I was gonna say, we have, if you wanted to do it in the morning on Tuesday, I could do it in the morning on Tuesday. Alyssa's got office hours. Josh can handle office hours or they can dual Zoom. And we can do it on Tuesday, Jamie. Would that work for you?
Zach
Yeah,
and
but
Judy
that
have
gives
a,
you enough time.
I have a vet appointment on Tuesday,
At what
10
time?
o'clock. 10 o'clock.
10
And
o'clock?
I
do
have
it
one
at
at
8?
9 o'clock.
How
At
about-
9?
How
Maybe
about
we'll
meeting
see
at
each
8
other.
o'clock Tuesday
Yeah.
morning?
8 o'clock?
8 o'clock Tuesday morning.
Is
Or you stop
everybody
already.
good with 8 o'clock
You
on
guys
Tuesday?
stop. Let Jen talk.
Is
Did I just?
Kevin, are you okay with 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning on Zoom?
Oh, sure.
Okay. We also have to give enough time to post a public meeting. That's why I'm pushing it till Tuesday. Because we're gonna have to post it tomorrow because we're not in the office on Friday.
Friday.
And this will be by Zoom.
This is gonna be by Zoom, 8 o'clock Tuesday morning, Zoom.
Same,
Okay, so-
mobile- same link as we normally do.
Yes, we'll send you out an agenda, Courtney.
All right, can we confirm who's available?
I'm available.
Available.
I'm available.
I'm available.
I'll be at work, so, although I'm not usually very vocal, I'll probably be even quieter.
Oh, sorry, Steve, I didn't know you were still working. Sorry, I apologize.
I'm a substitute teacher.
Oh,
It's just,
I didn't know.
you know, I've been very busy lately.
You are
for
a busy,
you.
very busy person.
We have 5, so we have a quorum, so we're okay with that.
Okay,
Yeah, I should make it.
okay.
This isn't going to be a long meeting, right?
It'll take a half hour tops.
Okay. Oh, we should do it at 8:30. I'll sleep in, right?
All right, 8 o'clock Tuesday morning, I will post the public meeting.
Okay.
Okay, and just one last thing, Mr. Chairman. Steve, you were at the precinct meeting tonight. Were there any questions about the capital requests for land management, the Punch Bowl, or Red Brook Culvert?
Red Brook Pollard came up, but the big question was regarding whether there would be a flow restricting device or flow control device as part of it. It wasn't clear in the description. That was the only question. Everybody really wanted it because we all know what happened.
Okay.
That's right. We're all going to have a late night on Monday,
Betsy,
aren't
do
we?
you know if there's gonna be a flow has that even been
Oh.
designed yet?
Yes, it has been designed.
Okay,
And the money is for permitting and there won't be flow control.
okay. All right. Good to know. All right. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
Glad I could help.
All right, anything else?
I'll make a
Alright,
motion
so-
to adjourn.
Carla Hawk,
Yeah.
second.
Gladfelter, aye.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, I.
Carla Hawk's eye.
Fried tug eye.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
What did?